Much to see here, and that's because of the very flat light caused by the clouds. Oof. It's just a big mixture of hippo tracks there, so we're going to scrap that. It was walking down this road. A good example, though, of how in flat light, without the sun being cast onto the sides of the tracks, it's very difficult to see them. I guess that's a useful excuse for James and myself for not finding the lines. Not easy tracking conditions this morning. Speaking of tracking, that sounds like James has decided to now go for a walk, and hopefully some time on foot will provide him with some more information as to where the lions have gone. Onto the Arethusa radio waves. We're very close to the border between Djuma and Arethusa, and hopefully they've got some action happening across there that we can cash in on. Or like I said, we can just spend some time snooping around for Shadow, a female leopard. A Cape buffalo enjoying his breakfast, and I guess this is one of the more deadly animals. After Keith's question earlier, per square kilometre, this would be one of the last animals I would choose to encounter on foot. So let's hope James doesn't bump into one now, because even now the way he's looking at us now, you can see they're grumpy old creatures, these, the buffalo bulls. They're very short fuse, and are one of the most dangerous animals actually when walking on foot in Africa. They tend to cause a lot of trouble for people on foot. Where are all your friends? Firstly, there's a few back here that looks like there's more in. Secondly, where are the lions, Mr. Buffalo? I'm guessing this is just going to be a bachelor herd, but we might get lucky. There may be a breeding herd with youngsters of all different, or of buffalo of all different ages. Hi there, Shell in Detroit, and you watching with your mother today, and would love to see some elephants. Well, it's a pity you weren't with us a little bit earlier, because we did have a glimpse of some, but sadly they were west of our western boundary, so I couldn't spend too long with them. But we could find some more, and if we do, we'll be sure to get them on screen for you. So it seems like they are making do with what little grass is around for now. But tough times for these old boys. And I think in the next month or so we're going to see a lot of the herbivores really losing condition, and the old and weak are going to start being clearly distinguishable from the young and stronger animals. It's going to be a time of plenty for the carnivores, and I think we're going to be seeing quite a lot of carnage in the coming months, so prepare yourself for that. I might be wrong, but with the way things are going, with the amounts of rain that we've been receiving, things are not looking promising for the herbivores. Nice to see the dew claws, or dew hooves, those two little bits of hoof that are elevated off the ground. Occasionally you do see those on the tracks, but it's usually in softer sand where you'll see those depressions. Slim pickings. Usually we wouldn't be able to see the hooves or even the mouth of the buffalo now. It would be covered by a thick layer of vegetation. We also wouldn't be able to see all these big sandy patches between vegetation. Okay, boys, we're going to leave you to it. Couldn't do, mister. You'd like to know a little bit more about the update on the lion that was seen last night. There was 4 lioness seen at around 2:45, I'm told. So I'm not too sure exactly where they headed from the dam. Neither is anyone, I guess, otherwise we would have had a better chance of finding them. But they were seen somewhere around then, so they've got a bit of a head start on us. What's interesting is that somebody, I think Diane, also had some audio of what sounded like a buffalo in distress. So maybe they have succeeded. And I think a few others also heard that audio. So hopefully James's little foot patrol now is going to provide some more information as to what exactly is going on. But that's all I've got for you. Listen carefully. Andrew can hear a squirrel alarm calling. Do you want to go up here or back? Over the back. You can very faintly make it out. So let's go back there. Great indicators for predators. Oh, what popped up there? A little branch popped up. We drove over. So I'm just going to go back and switch off and see if we can't work out what the squirrel is seeing. We are in the area where we could expect to see shadows. So it could be a leopard, it could be a bird of prey, it could be a snake. I'm just going to cup my hand over my ear to increase the size of my satellite dish, which you may have seen me doing. But not hearing anything now, sadly. Well done, Andrew, at least you heard the squirrel. I did hear it faintly when we stopped, but nothing now, so not too much more we can do. Like I said, it could be one of a long list of any given predators that it had seen, but always worth investigating if you are nearby to an animal alarm calling. To Ray, who would like to know what is the hardest four-legged animal to find. Look here quickly, Andrew, there's a ground scraper thrush carrying off nesting material. Where are you building your nest? That'll be wonderful to see. It's a bird you don't see very often. still got it up there, Andrew? I think it's up on that branch here. Yeah, a little bit to the right. You got it there. So let's watch it closely now. You can just see it now as Andrew tweaks the camera. Where is your nest, Mr. or Mrs. Thrush? I'm not too sure which one this is. They both look very similar, the male and the female. And I guess could very well both be contributing to building the nest. Now what we may find is that it's a little bit nervous of our presence, and maybe it wants to build the nest close to where we are sitting here. But it will avoid doing that while we're sitting here. And I mean, the fact that it's sitting with that big branch in its mouth patiently indicates that it is kind of waiting for us. Let's give it a minute or two. Maybe it'll lower its guard and allow us some insights into where it may be building the nest, but I fear that it may be waiting for us to skedaddle before it does any more work. While we wait for it, Ray, you interested to know what is the hardest four-legged animal to track down? Whew. I guess it depends on the area of operation, Ray. Here, I'd probably say that the aardvark or the pangolin would be difficult to track down for a number of reasons. You'd have to be tracking them at night because they're mainly nocturnal, especially the aardvark in this area. And that wouldn't be much fun, tracking an animal in the darkness here. It would be a suicide wish. So, yeah, difficult question. In terms of the regular animals that we see on a daily basis, you know, probably leopard or cheetah will be the most difficult because they're often solitary, so you don't have many tracks to follow like you do with lion and most other animals out here that live in larger numbers. So yeah, the solitary four-legged animals will be the tricky ones. I guess leopards can be very, very tricky. Come on, thrush, show us where your nest is. What I can do is just read up a little bit quickly about their nesting habits. I don't know much about them, or zero about them really. And just to let Nikki know, who's directing the show, if you're trying to talk to me and I can't hear you, apologies, but that's the spot we're in, Hannah. It's all good. Been having some trouble with the comms this morning. I'm never sure whether it's the earpiece or the earpiece cable or the radio or the area you're in. There's so many different variables and it's hard to keep track of what is what. So they nest in a cup nest. Most nests are cup-shaped, really. I mean, otherwise the eggs would fall out, but that's what they say here. The nest is built by both sexes. A cup of a variable composition. Feathers, leaves, spider webs, weeds, grass, rootlets, you name it. It's in those cup-shaped nests. Okay, more generally cup built of pliable stems. I think that's what that little bird's carrying around now. Oh, this is interesting. Nest often built close to that of a fork-tailed drongo, presumably to gain benefit from drongo's aggressive nest defense. Interesting fact there. Yeah, they've done quite a few studies on this, and out of 6 nesting attempts by one pair of ground scraper thrushes over 2 seasons, 5 out of those 6 nests were built next to a drongo's nest and only after the drongo had completed building its nest. So they wait to make sure that that drongo is going to commit to that nest before they in turn build their nest. That is fascinating. Andrew, has it flown off?
Yeah, he's gone.
Where did it go?
Just went down into
the danger zone. Okay. Jeffrey in Texas, sadly, no, my apartment that I'm trying to rent out to breeding pair of any birds that live here has still got no tenants. So I think I need to move that soon, otherwise we're going to miss the boats, miss the opportunity to get some birds nesting in that cavity that I made in a combretum tree. I think it's a perfect apartment, but for some reason the birds aren't enjoying it, and I can't for the life of me work out what it is. Okay, we're going to send you across to James. I'm told he isn't a bit of a shaky signal area, so he might be back with us shortly, but anyway, enjoy his updates.
Hello everybody, I have just seen a paradise flycatcher, and if you'll just bear with me, I'm looking for a nest, which I thought I'd spotted, but I haven't. It's just a swollen joint on a branch. So no paradise flycatcher nest. There's a swollen joint on a branch up there. They make a tiny, neat little nest, and there's the female. This is going to be very difficult. Okay, so straight in front of us there, Brian, is that green guarri bush, the kind of tallish guarri bush, and you can see a bird flitting in the back of it. That is the paradise flycatcher female. Beautiful rufous-coloured back and tail, and she's got a kind of a blue eye with a black head. And the male is very similarly coloured, but he's got a rufous tail. Now, I'm going to do something slightly nasty to them, and I'm going to call them with my bird app and see if I can't make them come out. There's quite a lot of bird activity going on here. Right, I know you can't see them, so let's see if we can call it back, call them out. This is what they sound like. And I can turn up the volume. That's the sound. Here they come. There. You see him? This is so cool. Here he comes. I'm going to sneak forward. I'm going to sneak forward. Just maybe we'll get them on the right or left here. I'm sorry about that, everybody. We had a great sighting. There it is, there it is. Can you see in the knobthorn here, Brian, if you just follow the trunk up? Is that them? Oh, I saw them with my naked eye, and I couldn't see them now with my binoculars. There they are, there. I'm going to call them once more. They're just so pretty, everyone. I think they've figured us out. This was the call that got them last time. No, they're wise to us. What a pity. Anyway, sorry, we went black screen. We're on a slightly dodgy area. And, yeah, there's the female. Oh, she keeps flying behind a flipping tree, and I can't go back because she's going to fly away. Oh! Beastly bird. There, Brian, you've got her. There. I'm throwing Brian under many. You got him.
Oh, no, you parked me behind you.
Back. No? Flown. Their very last attempt. That's the app. No. Lots of birds around here though. There were some bulbuls, there were some drongos, there were the flycatchers, there's an oriole, there's some hornbills. Little bird party going on here. I think the female was coming to check out whether there wasn't a better looking male in the area. Right, so that's it for our fly catching. I will show you what the flycatcher looks like. I'm going to show you in the book because there's a better picture there. Ah, well, it's very peaceful sitting here in the drainage line listening to the birdies, even if they don't want to see us. Right. There is the paradise flycatcher. Look at that magnificent little bird. So we saw him first, then we saw the female, and she landed in this tree above us, which Brian was eventually saw, and then I drove him under a branch, so he couldn't see it anymore. Anyway, that's the paradise flycatcher. Beautiful, beautiful bird. Oh, there it's calling. I can't see it there, Brian. Anyway. In case you're wondering, I gave up on the lions. I did an extensive walk to the area, through the area where we thought they may have gone, but I found nothing. And this is the kind of place that they would nest in. I mean, they would nest in these sorts of tall trees in a little cup, but I'm not sure if they're nesting or not. They normally nest in December. Anyway, marvelous time there. Let us carry on. Ex-Ranga, I think a very salient point. You say they have beautiful plumage to attract mates, and then obviously they hide behind the branches to frustrate the twitchers. Yes, and you know, it's funny how you have days like this where we had fresh lion tracks, no lions. We had paradise flycatchers that were just simply impossible to show on camera, and it must be something to do with how we woke up this morning. The side. Brian, they're gone. Oh, good, they've gone. Yes, yes. Anyway, we're heading towards Buffelshoek Dam now. We can find there. Right, now Mike, in Florida, you want to try and see a violet-eared waxbill. Now, a violet-eared waxbill is a little finch-like bird with an unsurprisingly violet-coloured patch of feathers over its ears. Little bird like that. And they are very beautiful. They've got black on them as well, and a bit of red and purple. and they're very lovely. And Mike, you'd like to see one here. Mike, it's possible. They like clearings though. They like sort of sodic clearings. And so I've never seen one at Djuma, but it is certainly possible that they're around. And while we're driving along, I shall try and find your picture without driving into a tree. And there's the violet-eared waxbill brown, number 5 there. So very stunning creature. Shall I stop? That's the violet-eared waxbill there. Very beautiful, with its violet ear, red bill, black throat, blue tail plumage there on the rump. Stunning. So in theory, yes, it's possible to see them here. I've not seen them at Djuma though. Right, on we go. We've got spiders all over the place. I think we drove through a ballooning squadron of them. They're all over my face. Stuck in my beard. Interesting question. Jen Cole, you want to know what the most pungent flower is here. Pungent as in unpleasant would be the carrion plant, which smells, as its name would suggest, like rotting meat, and possibly because it's pollinated by flies, I think. So that smells pretty awful. Then the close second, in fact possibly even worse, is the silver cluster leaf when it flowers. And the silver cluster leaf smells like bad feet, sort of cheesy gorgonzola feet. It's very disgusting, and the only smell similar used to come from Brent Leo Smith's old boots. And he's mercifully got rid of those since Jamie arrived on the scene. I'm sure she wouldn't have tolerated them. Thankfully, she's done the world a great service by getting rid of them. Nothing here at Buffelshoek Dam. So that is the silver cluster leaf flower, very foul indeed. And then in terms of strongly smelling, sort of pleasant smelling flowers, I suppose there's a little thing called a Carissa bispinosa, which is it's some sort of jasmine smelling white flower, which is very lovely indeed. And then the gardenias smell very nice, but only for a few days at a time. They smell very nice and they're quite strongly smelling. But normally it's fairly subtle smells around here. The other very strong smell, normally during the winter months, but I've started smelling it now, interestingly, is the potato bush, which has a very indistinct greenish sort of flower, tiny, tiny greenish flower, but it smells like potatoes, and quite strongly so. So I hope that sort of answers your question. I can't think of anything else that's more pungent than that. Otherwise, very sort of subtle smells that we get out here. The acacias all have a very subtle, sweet smell. And what you find is that the more colourful a flower is, the less it smells out here. So apparently, I think Brent was showing you a red star zinnia the other day, which occurs around the clearings on quarantine, and they don't smell at all. So none of the really colourful flowers smell here. If you find a white flower, they're normally the ones that are going to smell the sweetest. It's no surprise, therefore, that jasmine is a beautiful white colour, subtle pink. The lilies here also smell, actually, quite sickly sweet, but it's subtly. It's not a kind of explosion of sweet scents come the springtime. It's all kind of, they just waft in gently on the wind. It's very lovely. While now we're talking about things that grow out of the ground. Goober Waller. That's just a wonderful name to say. I think I might say it again. Goober Waller. Very nice name. Goober Waller. You would like to know about fungus and what kind of fungi we have growing here, and do we have mushrooms? Yeah, we do get mushrooms every so often. Oh, I thought Brian had spotted a leopard. What he was doing was actually removing the aerial from the way of a tree. Goober Waller, yes, we get mushrooms after rain. You get something called a bracket fungus, which grows in trees. And then in the termite mounds, you're absolutely correct. You do find fungus. It's not mushrooms so much as it's a fungus that produces cellulose that then produces cellulase that then digests cellulose and lignin in the structural plant material that the termites eat, and the termites then eat the fungus. So they grow and maintain these fungus gardens. And I think there are ants in South America that do the same thing, and that would be an example of what we call convergent evolution. Ants and termites are not closely related at all. So, yeah, nice one. Thank you, Goober Waller. Nice name, that, Brian, don't you think? Goober Waller. Lislapa. You want to know about the potato bush. We were chatting about its smell. You want to know if it makes a tuber or anything like that that might resemble the potato. No, it doesn't at all. I'll try and find you one. They're not very distinct, and they're normally sort of in the drainage line areas. But no, they don't make a tuber at all. They look like a very sort of average sort of bush with little leaves on it, just a little shrub, no tubers. And I'm sure I normally smell at night, and they must therefore be pollinated by some sort of nocturnal moth or other nocturnal insect. Now, Brian, there is a European roller there, but he's hiding behind too many bushes. I'm not going to try and make you film him. But let's stop here. We're on the cheetah cut line, far east. And what I can hear, if you listen very carefully on the birds, well, the birds never let us down. There, you can hear that bird going. There it is. No, it's not there. That was a dove. That's called a Steerling's wren warbler. Just a very nice call, very subtle bird. All right, Scott Dyson thankfully has managed to find you a mammal, which I have failed dismally to do all day long. His mammal is large with a very long nose. Let's head across to him. I'm going south down the cheetah cut line.
How cute is this little baby elephant? And its ginormous mother. Let's see if it doesn't give us any attitude. Sometimes the youngsters can be very playful, and as we arrived, it was shaking its head at us, holding up. Oh, it's pushing down a little tree. Andrew, can you see it there? Oh, awesome. You caught the end of it. That was incredible. I mean, obviously, it would have been better if we could have seen more of that, but that was the kind of playful nature that I'm talking about. Oh, looks like it's found another little branch there that it's going to try and push down. Possibly. And some of you may have noticed that the end of this female's trunk is missing. A little bit shorter than it should be. And it could be, therefore, an individual that we see fairly regularly. They're hard to distinguish, the elephants. But we do, or at least have got to know one female with a shortened trunk, and we do know that she does have a young calf at the moment, so it could be her, but she usually hangs around with her two slightly older kids, now with the third edition as well. I'm just going to creep forward a little bit. Let's see if we can't get just a better views of the youngster. mother standing right there. The youngster's not going to feel too threatened by us, so that's the good news. I can't work out if this is the half trunk that we usually see. I still actually haven't seen her trunk very clearly. There we go. Oh, hard to tell. Look at this. Cute. And let's see if the youngster doesn't come up and show us how big and strong it is. But there are a few females around at the moment that are missing the ends of their trunk. Sadly, there's a terrible form of poaching that is used when a wire noose or a snare is set on the pathways that animals walk down and indiscriminately latch onto limbs or trunks of various animals and then tighten. And that is the likely cause of all the elephants that we see missing their trunks here. And I'm hoping Shell and her mom are still watching all the way in Detroit, because they asked for us to find them some elephants. What have you put in your mouth there, youngster? Is that a big piece of bark you're chewing on? And just like any young animal, they can be playful and a little bit clumsy. It takes them a while to get to grips with that trunk of theirs. Well, I'm very happy we caught this herd when we did, because we are on another boundary road, just like with the other herd of elephants, and we actually cannot proceed any further. This is the end of the road for us. Thankfully, though, not for the animals. And there goes the youngster carrying off its trophy, the little bark. Look at it trundling along there. Awesome. I haven't managed to hear any clear updates as to what's going on Arethusa. There could well be something happening, but I just can't seem to hear any of the updates that the guys are giving me. So hopefully we're not missing out on anything. And what I've decided to do is just keep driving in around this area where I'm hoping that we may find some sign of Shadow, a female leopard who is allegedly bearing suckle marks and therefore, in all likelihood, has cubs. So that's what we're looking for in and around here. And I'm just going to wait for this Ellie to disappear out of view, and then we will continue on our search. Well, we caught the trail end of this herd, and I'm not sure how many were in it. So it could be the half-trunk female that we are used to seeing, and we're used to seeing her alone, which is the interesting thing with the way she moves, is that she usually doesn't move with a large herd as elephants normally do. She just moves with her offspring, which is now 3 different generations of offspring. Can't be certain that that is the case, because we just caught the trailing end of that herd. It could have just been her, and there could be more further up ahead. Hard to be certain. Oh, here we go. There's some more right here in front of us. So that worked out well and answers that question, solves that mystery. Oh, bit of a head shake there, indicating she's not hugely pleased by our arrival, and that's why I stopped the vehicle immediately, and we'll just let her cool off and come to terms with the fact that we were just here to view her and not cause her any discomfort. You can hear a crested barbet calling nearby. As well as a few other birds. I can hear some starlings, some rattling cisticulars. The bush is slowly coming alive. Spread out on both sides of the road now, but as you can see, it's very thick here, so not the easiest spot for viewing them, but I think we might get a little gap here of two youngsters. None of them are being very obliging with regards to the spots they're deciding to move through. Oh, well, great confirmation from Shell in Detroit and her mom, who are still watching, so I'm glad you stuck around for long enough to find you some Ellies. And I'm told you were about to head off, so glad you didn't. And I guess that must be torture for a lot of you, knowing that if and when you leave these live safaris, you just never know what you're going to miss out on. Let's see if we can't creep up a little bit further and see what the rest of the herd are doing. Doesn't look like we're going to get much joy with those individuals, but there are some, like I say, on the left-hand side of this little road that we're on. That might work temporarily. Another big cow, and usually all the adult elephants within these breeding herds will be females. It's uncommon to find adult bulls within the herds, unless of course they're in must, a sexually heightened stage, which causes them to trail after the females hoping that they're going to get lucky, or of course, in fact, if there's a female that is in season and is receptive to the males. But they don't have a dominant male, that's for certain. Nikki's just asked me whether I think it's greener across here on Arethusa, and yes, I think it is ever so slightly a little bit more green, and it's remarkable how the rainfall varies even over such small areas within the Sabi Sands. Just the other day we had a decent amount of rain, and all the different lodges updated us as to how much rainfall they got, and it basically spread from 10 millimeters in some parts of the Sabi Sands to 70 millimeters in other parts. And I mean, these are not huge distances. The Sabi Sands is only 60,000 hectares. It's a small reserve, relatively speaking, yet massive changes in rain. I remember also Brent came back from Arethusa one morning and was hugely surprised by the amounts of water that was in all the little little puddles and wallows, whereas across on Juma it was bone dry. So there are slight differences here to there, and apparently further west of here it's even wetter and more lush. Across on Elephant Plains, Sibambili. Hi there, D. Phillips. You would like to know how old I thought that young elephant was that we saw earlier. So difficult to say, so I will have a rough guesstimate at about 6 months. So it was still fairly clumsy, but it had decent control of its body, of its trunk. It managed to pick up that little piece of bark that it was carrying away at the end there. So yeah, I would guess around 6 months, but it's incredibly difficult to be certain. At least I think it is, because just like humans, you know, elephants will all look slightly different to one another, even if they are the exact same age. Yeah, I'd say anywhere between 6 months and maybe upwards of that, maybe between 6 months and a year would be my guess. that little calf looked like a little boy, and James Richards has noticed that the half-trunk female that we usually see as the newest addition to her family is a little boy. So that correlates well, James, and thank you very much for pointing that out. Oh, you see this riverbed here? Somewhere in here is where Shadow could be nestling her cubs. It's a very small little drainage line or riverbed. And we're going to drive parallel to it now with the hope that we may.
Right, sorry about the black screen there, everybody. Scott, not his fault, obviously. Just Jigger struggling wherever he is, she is. Don't know if Jigger's male or female, actually. So we're here at the very large, very beautiful herd of impalas. And in the background, you can hear the southern boo-boo calling. It's very peaceful. You might just be able to hear their footfalls. You can hear the mothers going wah, wah, calling their youngsters. I used to think it was the babies that did that, but it's normally the males, at least the females. Very sweet. And I saw another newborn yesterday. The little ones here, of course, were born in November, so they're pushing into their 3rd month now. And I saw two very newborns recently, which was quite interesting. Not unusual, but just interesting. Beautiful. Look at them just wandering along here, flicking their tails, getting the ticks off their bodies. And this, of course, is a nursery herd, and the babies are still very much suckling. Well, no, in fact, they'll be pushing towards weaning now. They'll definitely be eating grass, but there probably are a few of them that are still suckling. And this is a nursery herd that will probably split into a slightly smaller nursery herd, simply because they're very obvious as a very big herd like this. But there is lots of vigilance, obviously, for them. I don't think that when these little lambs get above sort of 6 months, you'll find a herd this size. I think you'll find they will split a bit, but also they are concentrated like this in these enormous herds because the water and the food are now so concentrated, and that is a result of the lack of rain. And so I'm sure that's one of the reasons that this herd is as large as it is. Let's just sneak slowly. Oh, there's a big ram. He's come onto the road, and he made his little noise. I'm not sure why he did that. It's not yet time for their testosterone levels to start going up in preparation for the May rut. That will start around about March into April. Let's just roll down the hill here. Beautiful impala sighting, this. I had a friend of mine who used to work at one of the game reserves, and he made sure that he stopped every day for impala at least once, because he felt like they were much maligned or much ignored, and they were far too magnificent to be ignoring. We're going to watch these impala disappear into the bush here. Scott is back with the elephants. Let's go across to him.
Well, we've got lucky and stumbled upon a different herd of elephants. And it looks like this time we're going to be more fortunate with their positioning and direction of movement. They could well continue feeding towards us, and we'll hopefully get some close-up views of them. Hello to Ellen, and you would like to know the likelihood. Look at this one resting its foot there. That's awesome. You would like to know the likelihood of a elephant bull playing any role in fathering their offspring, and they will have zero role. It will be born many moons after mating, 22 months thereafter, and the bull could be many hundreds of miles away by then. So absolutely zero role or impact on the upbringing of their offspring. And also on the topic of bulls, you are interested to know the likelihood, I'm just going to move forward a little bit, the likelihood of young elephant bulls meeting up with other bulls that possibly have some kind of connection to their family or their natal herd, and I don't think it's going to necessarily play any role or impact on them meeting up with other bulls. They will meet up with other bulls, that's for certain, but I don't think they're going to be concerned whether or not they were from the same natal herd. Okay, now we're in a good spot. This is a large herd of elephants, and they're just about fully encompassing us at the moment. Hello, cute youngster. Another one. Aren't we lucky this morning? And it could come trundling up to us at any moment if we're lucky. Or maybe it's going to be Wrinkly Bottom, a young elephant calf that was notorious for kind of rearing up onto its back legs, making for incredibly cute scenes. You can hear the Cape turtle dove calling. And also the elephants noshing away on all matter of different plants. Some are feeding on grass, some are feeding on leaves, and at this time of year during a drought they're going to be very resourceful, tapping into many different parts of plants and sections of plants. Andrew's just noticed the young calf's poked its nose out, and it looks like it's getting bullied by a slightly older calf. They're all huddled up in this area here. Isn't this wonderful? Obviously a tasty plant has been discovered, and now they're all trying to cash in on it while the going is good. What an awesome angle we've got of this one snacking away now. Plucking some leaves off what looks like a flaky bark acacia. It's also a massive cow, just a few meters away from us now. And what she may well do is there's this dead branch lying down between us and her. She may well try and move this branch in order to access all of the growth that's happening underneath it. That'll be awesome as long as she doesn't toss that branch onto us. No, wasn't interested in that plan. How wonderful though, just meters past us, not concerned by our presence in the slightest. This youngster, I don't know if you noticed something in its mouth there. It had something kind of reddish in coloration on the upper roof of its mouth. Come on, come and say hello. I was thinking about it, but decided against it at the last moment.
Is this not Wrinkly Bottom?
I think this is too big for Wrinkly Bottom, but it's seriously putting on a show for us now. It could be Andrew, but I think it's a little bit too small for Wrinkly Bottom. It's been a while since we have seen Wrinkly Bottom, actually. Maybe it's just matured and stopped its playful antics. It's digging around those roots that obviously smells very tasty, but difficult to access the goodness. And it looks like it's going to settle for a grassy shoot instead. Steve in Ontario, you would like to know if there's any sorry, I was just letting Andrew know that these two young bulls are having a little bit of a wrestling match. Steve, you'd like to know if there's any such thing as an elephant graveyard. And I believe it's a myth. I've never seen one. And what may have caused that myth, a possible speculation of mine, is that, you know, elephants may have died in and along river courses, as they will often do. Elephants that die of old age will generally die in areas of plentifulness, like a riverbed, and they'll seek out those areas because they often die due to the fact that their teeth have worn down and they can no longer chew on hard materials. So because you're more likely to find elephants in riverine areas when they die, obviously when there's floods, oh, hello, we've got a little visitor sneaking up on us from behind. Haha, well spotted, Andrew.
Don't be cheeky.
And what I'm getting to with this whole story is that you can imagine the bones of elephants all being washed down a river, and because of a similar density, they may collect in a similar area where the floods have subsided, leaving a whole collection of bones in one area. And then people come across them and assume that all these elephants have gone to die in the same place. I mean, if you think about it logically, the only reason us as humans have got graveyards is because there are living people that carry us into them. And that's not so much the case with elephants. They don't get carried in coffins to graveyards. So how on earth would they all just decide to die in the correct spot, if you think about it like that? You may have heard some low rumbling there, the elephants communicating with one another. I hope you heard it. It's a wonderful sound. This is my kind of impersonation thereof. This is a large herd, 20 plus animals, I'm guessing. So for this area, a very good sized herd. So essentially, no, I think the elephant graveyards is a myth. But what is interesting and what is not a myth is that elephants certainly do pay a lot of interest to the remains of elephants when they come across them. They'll often smell the bones, possibly carry a bone or two for any given distance before placing it down. But the graveyards I'm not convinced of. A few more youngsters having some rough and tumble up to our vehicle here. Oh, well, Tina, you did think that one youngster that was performing earlier was Wrinkly Bottom, so I hope you're right, and I hope it does do some more regular Wrinkly Bottom performances for us. Look at these two mouthing one another with their trunks. That is awesome. How awesome is this? A young boy kind of throwing its weight around with what looks like another young boy. It looks like it wants to push him right into our vehicle. Wonderful stuff. And the play continues. Just going to reposition quickly. And I mentioned earlier that what you can find elephants doing at this time of the year is moving dead branches around. It looks like there's one about to try and start doing that in order to access the nursery of growth underneath. It looks like it's having trouble though, getting this fallen down buffalo thorn to where it wants to be. But there is a bounty of growth underneath there that it's trying to access. Not very successfully though. making a meal of this. Let's see if it's gonna have the commitment and brain power to crack this puzzle. All it needs to do is walk to this edge of the buffalo thorn and drag it away. It'll take just a moment. But it doesn't look like it's going to work that one out. It is getting to some little bits and pieces. Oh, that's eating some morning glory flowers. If you zoom in quickly, Andrew, you'll see some purple flowers getting sucked up into its mouth. Are they still dangling there? No, I think they're already gone, but that's what it was targeting. It might find a few more. Well, I hope this Cape turtle dove is sending out an important message, whatever it's saying, because it hasn't stopped calling since we got here. Obviously desperate for a mate. Hello to Jen on Twitter, and you've noticed that elephants will often swing their feet whilst using their trunk to pluck up food, and is there any reason for that? And yes, it's often to try and break off the roots or the base of the plants, so they'll be kicking the base of the plants as well as pulling with their trunk. And I'm sure if we watch this one for long enough, it'll perform that very act for us. But yeah, like I said, it's a combination of pulling and kicking to snap the roots. There we go. No, you see this one attacked the buffalo thorn from the right angle and therefore could effortlessly move it. There we go, that's how you do it. All whilst multitasking, as you can see. Some freshly baked bran muffins, and now a smoothie machine. Those bran muffins look like they're a bit medium rare. I would have left them in the oven for a bit longer, but anyway. She's the baker this morning, or he rather, as is clearly being depicted to us. And well done, boy. At least you got to those tasty morsels that were being sheltered by the buffalo thorn tree, and now you're having a good time enjoying the spoils of your hard work. Anna Marie's pointed out something interesting. She's been watching a few of the elephant bulls in Tembe, and apparently she's noticed that they appear to have bigger tusks than the bulls here in the Sabi Sands, and it is possible. Genetic variances in certain areas will mean some areas have got bigger bulls than others. And it's something that I've always been surprised by the Sabi Sands as a whole, is we typically don't see very many big bulls here. Whereas further into the Kruger National Park, you're more inclined to see them, and even though they've got free rein as to wherever they want to go, we don't often see the big bulls in here. Again, no reason why, in my mind, that they wouldn't want to occur here. Apologies. I was yawning when I answered that question. I think Angie picked up on my voice there. That was Annie and Debs. Well done, Annie. The rattling testicular alarm calling here. Can't see it, they're tiny little birds. I just thought I'd just double check and make sure there's no snakes slithering through this tree or anything that we should be alarmed about. But nothing to see at the outset. right, well, we're going to continue on, probably start winding our way back to camp, and we're going to send you across to James for an update on what he's been up to.
Hello everyone, we are just on our way to the hyena den again, mainly because I know that there may be a hyena there, and I have failed to find anything else on this great reserve of ours. I'm pretty sure the lions are in this block here to the left of us, but I'm not even going to mention their names again until I can actually find one for you. Anyway, so it is. Apparently you didn't see any babies at the hyena den earlier, so let's have a quick look now. Just madam with blood on her face, signs of hyenas having pilfered something during the night. Do you think we could find what they stole or the victims of their thievery? No, we could not find them. So let's go and have a look. See if the little ones are here. They're always such good value are the hyenas. In we go. Brian, there is a hyena here. Praise be. Kathy, you're in Washington State, and you want to know... Oh, there are lots of hyenas here. Well, at least two. There's one right in front of us. That's the one with the injury on her neck. Look at that. Let's stop here. Rusty's brakes are now starting to squeak, which is deeply irksome indeed. Kathy, you want to know if you say the one hyena that's left behind at the den to look after the youngsters, would it ever call the others back? First of all, Kathy, they would never necessarily leave a nursemaid here. They're not like they're not like the wild dogs which will leave a nurse. So sometimes one will be here. If trouble arises, they could well call the others. But normally, the cubs are completely safe inside the den. No predator that I know of, except maybe a female leopard, could get in there and pull them out, and that would be highly unlikely. Now, I don't know what happened to that female. That looks like a very distinct bite mark to me. So I suspect a fight with other hyenas or perhaps lions. But that looks to me like a clamp around the jaws, at least a clamp around the neck from some jaws. But she'll recover fully from that. They have the most astonishing ability to heal, these hyenas. And that nose is so powerful, every time a little scent catches her on the wind, she'll lift her head and look. So she's pretty comfortable. And then in the hole, there is what looks to be the matriarch. I can see her on the termite mound. Have you got a decent view there, Brian? Or should we try and move in a bit closer? Let's try and move in a little bit closer. That is the matriarch. Oh, what have I hit? That's the matriarch there. And she's got certainly a little bit of blood on her face still. Yes, and as has just been pointed out, she's missing a tooth. You don't get to her elevated position in life without her. Well, you know, losing the odd thing on the way. There are certain costs to being the most dominant hyena in town. And she's looking around all the time. I wonder if there probably aren't one or two more in the bushes around here, possibly just having a rest. Eric in Virginia Beach, a very nice query about why the hyenas should have such short hair on their faces. Is it perhaps like the vultures, which are, you know, adapted to putting their heads right into carcasses, and not having feathers on their heads, of course, does help that process. It also means that those feathers don't get mucked up and caught, you know, they don't get messy. And which in turn reduces the probably amount of disease that goes around. Eric, there might be something like that, but if you look at their faces, you know, they're not actually that much less hairy than the rest of their bodies. So there might be an element of that. They do lick each other's faces extensively, so I don't think there's a sort of disease reason behind why they should have slightly less hairy faces, but it might have something to do with it. So although the color, here she comes, although her color is very different on the face, it's not, the hair is not actually that much more sparse than it is anywhere else on her body. She's salivating at the thought of the dinner she had last night. I'm feeling quite the same at the thought of my breakfast in a few minutes' time. I'm not salivating there, everybody, don't worry. I'm managing to control myself. Definitely very aware at the moment. And Lady Luger, I don't recall talking to you before, Lady Luger, so if you are relatively new, thank you for your question. You want to know where the other den is? Well, given my exceptional sense of direction from today, east is basically, well, she's standing on an east-west plane, the hyena there. And were you to go from her right shoulder, so the shoulder closest to us, she's actually looking directly towards where the old den was, and directly on a line where she was looking about maybe 500 meters, half a kilometer. So a third of a mile or so is the old den. Oh, she is fat. Come on, call your youngsters out, come on. No. Just checking that everything's all right. A question from, I can't get the name exactly. Nikki, I'm going to ask you to spell it for me so that I can get it. About TAGR, Tiger 6, or Tiger 6, Tiger 6. You want to know about infection and that wound there. Would there be an element of infection that could take place? Tiger 6, I don't believe so, no. These hyenas have amazing adaptations to getting rid of any kind of infection. So I think it's highly unlikely that this little bite would result in any kind of infection at all. Can you still see this one, Brian? Yeah, obviously. So that wound will heal. And all these hyenas, you know, as they get towards adulthood, have got scars all over their bodies. That's quite a nasty bite, though. That was obviously someone or something got close to killing that hyena, I think. Because it wasn't too far from some fairly vital pieces of the hyena's body. Mark Tilbury, I don't know if your question here is asked in jest or if you are being serious, but you want to know how it is that the Wasabi Sands got its name. Is it because it's so hot? So, for those of you who don't know, we're in a reserve called the Sabi Sands, named for the Sabi River and the Sand River, which make up, well, the Sand River runs through it, and the Sabi forms a southern boundary. She's calling. And no, Mark, it's not called the Wasabi Sands. But look, Wasabi Sands would be a pretty good name, given the heat here. This one isn't pretty. That's not pretty, is it? And hello, Kurt. You're on YouTube. You want to know if these hyenas are similar to your dog at home or to any domestic dog. No, they're not. They're totally unrelated. Well, I mean, they're carnivores of the same kind, but they're much more closely related to cats, and they fall into a totally different kind of section of the carnivora. So you get the cat-like carnivora into which the hyenas fall, and you get the dog-like carnivores into which the dogs and the mongoose fall. So although they look like dogs, not related to them at all. I don't know why she's calling like that. I don't know who she would be calling. As far as I know, she's not a mother here yet. It's fascinating. Thank you, Tagger6. You tell us that your name is Tony or Anthony. I had an uncle called Anthony once. Thank you for that. Interesting sounds now. The cloud has remained, which is nice. It's quite warm though. So around us you can hear the cisticolas and the robins, and then the spider hunting wasps you'll hear going zzz by, and then this hyena calling strangely. I don't know what she's calling for. And she has not elicited a response, obviously. Yes, Brian is making a great contribution to the sort of obesity problems that the world experiences at the moment by filming things full of blood and pus and flies. Well done, Brian. Stephen, you made that comment. Thank you very much. Yes, he's helping us all to stay off our food. Well done, Brian. Do you feel that you've done the world a service this morning?
Of course.
Well done, well done. Right, I think that's it for the hyena den. Seems like a good time to leave, given that there are no hyenas here. Let's press on, shall we? Oh dear. Now, sometimes this car starts, sometimes it doesn't. Let's see what happens this time. Jamie seems to have found the trick. But Jamie's clever, you see. Ah, going to give it one more go. One more go. All right, let's go across to Scott. I'll try and get out of here before breakfast has been eaten by everybody else.
Well, that faulty immobilizer does make for some interesting times. And I'm sure it won't take James too long to get it up and running again. Well, it's coming to a close, the Sunrise Safari, and it's also coming to a close for a work period for myself and Nikki. We're going to be heading off on leave today, which we're both extremely excited for. Get it up there, Andrew. There's a southern grey hornbill calling right at the top of that marula tree there. And let's see if we can stop, and maybe it'll call again for us. They're wonderful birds to watch calling because they do a little dance move along with their call. As I was saying, they're heading off for a week's leave. We will be back next week, Sunday. Here we go. And some of you believe that we're going to be going horse riding. Sadly, it's not this leave, or not planned. We want to go and do some horseback adventures along with other adventures up in East Africa and Kenya. Isn't that a wonderful call? Together with the little wing beat dance move. So sadly, no horse riding plan for this trip, but I have promised to Nikki, with all of you as witnesses, that I am going to be taking her horse riding somewhere, so I'm going to have to make a plan there before I get into trouble. But we're going to be spending the week here locally in the surrounding area, possibly going to go, well, we're going to spend a night in the Kruger National Park tomorrow, hopefully find some mega prides of lion in and around the Satara camp area. There's also 2 white lions in that area, part of a mega pride of about 40 lions. So we'll spend a night there and then maybe explore the surrounding Drakensberg Mountains. So looking forward to the break and checking out some new areas, and looking forward to hearing all the tales when we get back. I'm already a little bit sad to be leaving with all the action that's been unfolding over the last week or so. So, of course, Karula with those cubs, it's going to be interesting to see what happens there in the next week, and I'm hoping you guys get lucky and maybe bump into her while she's moving cubs from den to den. Imagine seeing her getting one of those little cubs in her mouth, carrying one from one spot to the next. So that's something to look forward to, along with all the general excitement of being out with Brent and James and Jamie, who are going to be the 3 presenters showing you a good time. Thank you very much for all your help and contributions over the last few weeks, and of course this morning. Well done, Andrew, for your great camera work and general banter. And to Nikki and Kirsty sitting in the final control room, thank you very much. We'll see you all next time. And we're going to send you to James now for him to say goodbye. It seems like he may have got the car started. See you in a week.
Right. Brian and I were just discussing various animal sounds, and we were making silly animal sounds. We drove out of the hyena den, only to find a Cheetah Plains vehicle driving into the hyena den, looking rather astonished at what they'd been hearing. We thought we were alone. We weren't. I'm sure you've all had that experience. I've had it live. Of course, I was singing to some warthogs yesterday when we went live, and I didn't realize. Whoops. Right, that's it from us today. A big thank you to Brian for your effort filming the lack of animals that I found. Thanks to Nikki and Kirsten in the final control. Nikki and Scott on leave from this afternoon, so we wish them the best on their travels. I'm not sure where they're going into the Kruger for a little while. There's another paradise flycatcher, the 4th one I've seen today. I'm not even going to bother. Until this afternoon at 4 o'clock, we will see you then. Stay safe and happy wherever you are in the world, and I hope to do better later this afternoon. Bye.